Hey, what's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, taking a look at the Giant Mouse Ace Riv Liner Lock. I got this one through the recent Going Gear subscription, and longtime viewers of the channel knew this one was going to be right up my alley, and I've definitely been enjoying it so far. You can pick it up in this configuration for $195. As always, I'll make sure to leave links in the description if you're interested in picking it up. Now, this configuration features that Magnacut blade, the double Black Micarta. When I first got it, I wasn't really sold on it being all that different from regular Black Micarta, but when you compare them side by side, it is a pretty big difference, and I really have been enjoying it the more I sit with it, just that deep richness that they get with the double Black Micarta, so that does look really good. Then it's all tied together with that Brass Backspacer, which I think also looks great, really classes it up, gives it that pop of color, integrates the lanyard hole through that backspacer as well. I do think it could have benefited from one more pop of that brass somewhere, maybe something like a titanium pivot that's been anodized to match the brass coloration, just to tie the overall look together. But as is, I think really good looking knife, classy looking knife. Could have been improved a little bit in my opinion, but still really enjoy the aesthetic of this one. Size wise, we're looking at about 5.75 inches overall, and so definitely a smaller knife, which is one of the reasons I really enjoy it. 3.4 inches of that is in the handle, although you're not really able to utilize most of that. If you want to stay on the handle, you can see that flipper tab sticking out, keeping you from or behind that pivot. And so you're able to get about a 3-finger grip, or at least I'm able to get about a 3-finger grip. And the ergos are just okay in this position. It definitely feels a little bit off balance. I like to be right up behind the edge, and so that makes sense. But it just feels like I'm a little bit far back. I feel the pocket clip just a little bit in this knuckle, and I think that's because I'm not able to get a full grip on it, so I'm tightening down a little bit more than I would if I had all 4 fingers on here. But about a 3-finger grip, it's not terrible, but luckily it has that finger choil, and when you creep up there, able to get all 4 fingers on it now, a little bit more relaxed. The ergos are excellent. It's honestly night and day difference for me. The pocket clip ends up disappearing because I'm in that more relaxed grip and is placed a little bit more kind of optimally for my hand. My thumb doesn't have to stretch to reach the jimping. I can reach the jimping in that other grip, but in this grip, it's just kind of a natural placement, so I don't feel like I'm stretching out to get on it. The jimping on here is excellent, by the way. It's not super aggressive, but it is very, very grabby. It's just not that aggressive, kind of sharp feeling, but it really does lock you into place nicely. Wouldn't have minded seeing a little bit more jimping behind the thumb hole. Some knives do that where they have 2 spots, and so for people that do prefer that back grip, it would give you a little bit more to grab onto. But like I said, you can stretch out here. It just feels like a bit of a stretch, and so wouldn't have minded seeing it, even though when I'm using this, I prefer the ergo so much here that I'm almost exclusively using this grip over that reverse or back grip over here. And so in terms of our blade, already mentioned the Magnacut steel, nice drop point on here. Super thin and slicey edge, really nice factory edge on this one. These are made in Maniago, Italy. I don't think I mentioned that yet. Nice flat grind, not quite a full flat grind. You can see it tapers off just there at the top, but nice flat grind on here, nearly a full flat grind. And then I did mention the flipper tab here kind of sticking out a little bit. I don't love that. I would honestly prefer this knife without the flipper tab. It would be nearly perfect for me without it. It's not super intrusive here, not super an eyesore here either, but you'll see when I activate that liner lock, which in this case is a liner lock. I believe there are some frame lock versions as well, but when I go and deploy that liner lock, the flipper tab almost immediately hits your nail. It doesn't allow it to drop very far, so you kind of have to shake it the rest of the way, and that wouldn't have been the case had there not been the flipper tab. I realize some people do prefer that deployment, and it is well executed here. Nice jimping, it doesn't stick out too far, and really snappy action. The detent's a little bit on the heavier side for this knife, but I think it's nearly perfect. It makes for really, really snappy action no matter how you end up deploying it. And I probably could loosen the pivot maybe 1/8 of a turn to lighten up that detent, but for me it's about perfect. I wouldn't change anything about the detent there. And we have this thumb hole, which gives you perfect access for that middle finger flick, just kind of a natural positioning, and super snappy here as well. And so that works perfectly. You don't have as much real estate to get your thumb in there. You probably can flick it open, but you're not able to get your nail in there. It's going to be the meat of your thumb, maybe a little bit of wrist, but still able to flip that open with your thumb as well. But for me, the optimal kind of deployment method on this one is going to be that middle finger flick. In terms of branding, that sort of thing, really clean aesthetic on the show side. The branding's kind of locked into the backside here. We have the Giant Mouse logo, the Ace, and the Magnacut all in one placement there. So really nice, clean aesthetic there. We do have a wire pocket clip, which isn't my favorite aesthetically. It works. It does stick up a little bit high, which is normal for these wire pocket clips. And like I said, in that full 4-finger grip in the finger choil, you really don't feel it. In that back grip where you're a little bit tighter, I'm feeling it just a hair right behind that knuckle. It's really not a hot spot though, but do want to point out that I can feel it a little bit. It is on bearing, so super smooth action. Nested liners in there, so you're really not seeing those. They're pretty deeply nested as well. And weighs only 2.5 ounces, so really lightweight. Great 5th pocket carry here, and like I said, really up my alley. This is kind of knives I really enjoy when I can get a small knife, the smallest possible, with a full 4-finger ergos that are comfortable to use still. That's really my sweet spot, so really enjoyed this one, but not going to be for everyone. If you know you don't like small knives, you're probably not going to like this one either. But let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Like I said, for me, nearly perfect. I would delete that flipper tab and maybe come up with a different pocket clip rather than the wire pocket clip. It is reversible, fortunately, so lefties can reverse that over. And it's a pretty neat looking, clean system for that reversible pocket clip. I don't feel like it doesn't need a plug. It's not a ugly kind of eyesore having that empty gap here or anything like that. So wire clips are good for that reason, and they did make sure that it was reversible for those lefties. But yeah, let me know what you think of this one down in the comments. As usual, I'll link to it in the description. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, check out some of my other videos, best way to support the channel. And as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.